Thought 6. Depression. I'm no therapist, but I think my sudden awareness of time was the start of my depression. Because I had so much time on my hands, I started questioning the things I was doing. The things I would do to fill time were now filling so much of my time, but none of it was conducive to the future I want for myself. This realization weighed on me, but because I had a girlfriend that I loved and I was doing well in college, I had a feeling that life would fall into place. I think my last semester of college was the deepest part of my depression. My whole life, my main goal was to go down the professional athlete route, then retire, and take care of my wife and kids and play video games the rest of my life. My final semesters of college came along with two realizations. The first being that my path to being a professional athlete was closed in many aspects and was limited in the aspects that remained open. I played football from the time I was 5 until I graduated high school. I then went to the University of Alabama at Birmingham in hopes of joining their newly returning football team. I was 18 and had always been one of the top players in any league I played in. At the time I was benching 405, squatting 600, and I could deadlift 550. I weighed 250 with a 5-flat 40-yard dash time. I thought with my strength and skills, as long as they gave me a chance, I would make it to the top of the team and then get drafted to the NFL. Unfortunately, the chance I was waiting for never came. As far as I know, they only held one tryout while I was there. Having watched so much TV, I thought announcements of a college football tryout would be everywhere and I wouldn't miss it. But alas, I did. They only announced the meeting for those interested in trying out on Twitter, and I only followed them on Instagram. A friend who was also aspiring to join the team told me to get a physical, and I would be able to sign up, and so I did. When I showed up at the tryouts, they told me that because I didn't show up to the meeting, I couldn't try out. I was sad, but I was not defeated because I started a wrestling club, so I could hone my wrestling skills while waiting for the next opportunity to join the football team. My wrestling club had feats and fallbacks, but right before the pandemic, I found a few dedicated members, and I found someone to host our practices for little to no cost. Although we could not practice, I figured we could still have meetings and get the club attendance up, so when the pandemic was over we could be operating with a full team. When the pandemic got worse, and we could no longer meet in person, I decided to give up on the club until the pandemic let up. My last semester in college was when I realized the pandemic wasn't going to let up, so my goals of establishing a club and using it as a reason to stay in college and try to get onto the national team were crushed. With the 2 athletic paths I ventured being cut off and the third never having been traveled, my dreams of being at the peak of an athletic profession could only happen with years of hard work, and it would be short-lived if I made it there before my body gave out. This realization made me give up on sports, and I stopped working out. I started gaining a lot of weight, but I did not care because my girlfriend still loved me, I still felt healthy, and I had no specific reason to be in shape. This line of thinking is what led me to my second major realization of my final year of college. Me and my girlfriend of 4 years were no longer in love. I started realizing that when we hung out I would be thinking more and talking less. Looking back, I think it was because I was afraid we would start talking about the future, and we did not share a completely similar idea of a future, and that would result in us breaking up. But back then I didn't pay it much mind because I loved everything about her, and besides the fact that our deep connection was gone, we always had fun, and I never felt any negative emotions towards her. After we graduated, I asked myself, do I still love her? I thought, of course I love her. I love her smile, her laugh, her eyes, her hair, her intelligence, how empathetic she is, how much she loves animals even though she is allergic, how much she loves giving gifts, and how she always loves a good competition. How could this not be love? I thought. This led me to question love itself. What is love? Why is it that I feel disconnected from this person, who I love so much, and who loves me so much in return? The day before I went on a graduation trip with my girlfriend, my little sister called, and before she hung up she said, I love you. This stood out, because although we have a good relationship, we did not grow up telling each other that we love each other. I then thought, that's right, there are other people that I love. The question was then, what makes my love for her different from the love I have for my friends and family? It couldn't have just been the physical intimacy, because people who don't love each other are intimate. Then I asked why I fell in love with her, but not with anyone else that I've loved. The conclusion I came up with is the difference between loving someone and being in love is intention. When I first fell in love with her, my intention was just to be with her, because she made me happy. This is what people call the honeymoon phase. I think after the honeymoon phase, if you don't have similar intentions, your relationship will fall apart. I think this is what happened to my relationship. We had some similar intentions like getting a house and pets and a mini farm, so staying together was easy, because we shared a similar idea of the future, so by my theory we were still in love. Our intentions changed when she decided she for sure did not want kids, and that's when we fell out of love. After deciding the difference between being in love and loving someone, and deciding that me and my girlfriend were no longer in love, I had reached the peak of my depression. My dreams of being a professional athlete were gone, I was grossly overweight, and I was on my college graduation trip with the woman I have loved for 4 years, and I finally realized that we were no longer in love. I spent the rest of our vacation wondering how she felt, and how horrible I would feel if I was the only one with these feelings, and we were coming back on Christmas, and I really didn't want to ruin her favorite holiday, so I kept the feelings to myself for 2 weeks. We then discussed our feelings and broke up. I spent a few weeks missing her, and then I asked myself, am I depressed? I thought, that's stupid, I've never been depressed before. I then came to the conclusion that depression is the same as love. Society has intertwined feelings, sayings, and facts, and that has resulted in the average person not knowing what they are feeling, because they've only been taught how to express it with certain sayings. After theorizing the similarity between love and depression, I realized that this culmination of negative thoughts and emotions is what people call depression. But everyone I know acted like depression was some external force that guided their actions. But I think at its core, depression is the inability to think of future plans. This is what I felt, and it was the only underlying commonality between all the people who have told me they have had depression. With this understanding of depression, I concluded that I will no longer be depressed. Just because I can't see where my future is headed, doesn't mean I can't work on my problems one by one until I can see my future clearly again. As long as I am improving every day, I have nothing to worry about, because all of the problems I have been working on will one day be gone, and I will be the man I want to be. If I can cure my depression by postponing the planning of my future and improving myself so that I'm in a better position to have a future that I would want, then anyone can do it. Therefore, if you want to cure someone's depression, you have to give them a future.